Hello and welcome, Exiles, to the day one update to the Meteor Bear. I got good news. Walking Calamity is everything I thought it was going to be. It is very, very strong and a lot of fun. Now, getting to Walking Calamity, it isn't the easiest. We just did Maul and Furious Slam. You could mix in Fury of the Mountain and a few other skills, but ultimately, once you get to Walking Calamity, it is the star of the show. No joke, that skill does a lot of damage, and it really will provide this auto bomb playstyle. I can't wait to actually start min-maxing this character. Now, I want to go in game and talk about a few of the caveats or some of the things we're working on, some of the bugs I ran into. First off, let's start with the bugs. Walking Calamity doesn't work with weapon swap at all. If you try to set up weapon set passives, for example, I was going to snapshot some skill effect duration to make it last even longer. It just doesn't work. The second you proc the skill and then use your main hand weapon set, it completely deactivates. The duration will remain on the screen. It'll say 20 seconds left to go, but you'll be swiping and you'll be doing whatever you're doing, and the meteors will just they'll not start again. They will be completely done for the rest of the 20 seconds. So you'll notice we have some green passives here and some red passives here. That was me trying to test out some weapon set passives. We wasted like 2 hours messing around with this. As far as I can tell, it's just completely bugged. Do not do weapon set passives with this until GGG fixes it. Right now, it just does not function at all with weapon swap. So that is my one biggest caution. Number two, in terms of bugs, really funny is when you click a support gem and you say, I want to get a support gem for Walking Calamity, it's like, hey, use Rage Forge too. It gives you 35% more damage. You spend rage, and the thought process is, oh, Walking Calamity generates a bunch of rage. I'll spend a little bit of rage, but I'll get this big damage multiplier. My rage will go back up, and it'll be fine. However, it currently spends 10 rage every single meteor. It literally will just instantly delete your rage bar. I'm assuming it's not supposed to work that way, that it's just supposed to spend 10 rage the first time you proc the skill, but it just deletes all your rage. So do not use this until they fix it. That's another bug I encountered. So 2 bugs in Walking Calamity: do not use weapon swap and do not use Rage Forge 2. It will just literally yeet all of your rage, and that's a big important part of your damage because rage gives you damage. It also allows you to do Furious Slam with the extra effect and stuff like that, so you really do want rage when you're playing a bear. So those are the 2 bugs. Now let's talk about a bit of our setup for the character, a bit of the more confusing things. I have a Scepter in my offhand, and I've had a lot of people ask me about why am I doing this or how am I doing this. This has to do with the new Keystone Lord of the Wilds. This keystone says you can equip a non-unique Scepter in your offhand at the cost of 2 big downsides. 50% less spirit. So you'll notice I have 122 spirit. If I didn't have this keystone, we would have technically 244 when you account for the 144 from this thing and the 100 flat spirit you get from the campaign. Number 2 is non-minion skills have 50% less reservation efficiency. So the first downside would be like whatever, right? You put on a Scepter, you're getting almost double your spirit from the Scepter, you lose half the spirit, and then you just get the benefits from having the Scepter. If that was the case, it would be an auto include in every build. So they put in a second downside, which says your reservation skills cost twice as much. For example, if you look at Herald of Ash, you'll think that's a 30 spirit skill. However, it is going to actually reserve 60 spirit. You'll see when we put this on and off, it's reserving 60 spirit. That's what the second line says. It's basically saying, hey, if you got some non-minion spirit reservations, those things cost twice as much. So that's the downside where you have to say, is this worth using? Now, for me, I think this will end up being worth using because Malice is very strong. Malice gives us an option to get crit weakness into our build, just sort of automatically applying to enemies. Crit weakness can make enemies have an extra 10 base crit added to them once you get like a higher level 1 with more skill effect duration and stuff. Right now, my crit weakness with a level 14 Scepter and just a level 1 prolonged duration support is applying like 12-ish, 13-ish stacks of crit weakness, which is about 6.5 base crit. So the sacrifice here is normally I could have 100 spirit and I could just reserve 3 30 spirit reservations or 2 30s and a 40, etc., etc. But with this thing, I'm going to end up being able to do probably about 2 30 spirit reservations, and maybe 1 extra support reservation is probably what I'm going to be able to pull off with this character later on as I invest in more to the setup. Because right now, I just have Herald of Ash, and I have a Vitality Aura on my Malice. I'm probably going to be swapping this to having a Clarity Aura, and we're going to be looking at putting in Berserk into the build for more rage effects. Some other stuff like that is something we're going to be doing. That's the sort of idea we're going to be looking for, going for, and that's what's giving the Scepter is giving us. You do not have to copy this, but I think it makes sense late game as we want to invest more into crit scaling because talismans have such a good base crit. I think using crit scaling in this character will make a lot of sense. Now, going into some other stuff about the character defensively, and this is something I didn't realize right away, but somebody in my chat told me about it because I didn't know where to find this tooltip. The passive benefit from Bear is 10 flat armor per level and 30 armor applies to elemental damage. And we get endurance charges for every 15 rage we spend. So the thought process is here, at a level 100 character, that'll end up being 1,000 armor. So it's a very nice base armor. I think this will pair very well with going hybrid armor life ES scaling initially, because there's a lot of fairly good percent armor nodes. Hide of the Bear, we have Bastion of Forest. I'm going to be grabbing Made to Last, which will give us a recoup on our life pool. Stuff like that will end up feeling very good. And then with a few base armor pieces and life scaling, that'll be our starting defensive layer. Initially, we're going to swap into probably CI and some other things like that, because I think we can just get more tanky. But we'll probably use this hybrid armor ES combination throughout the entire run of the character. I think it actually will feel quite good. That's just my thought process. On top of that, we're also using a fair amount of max rage investment. We have max rage while shapeshifted. We're going to get max rage on this wheel here. And the advantages of max rage is it gives us a lot of damage multiplier. And later on, Wellspring is based on a 6% of your maximum rage. So the higher your maximum rage is, the more base rage regen you're going to get per second, the faster when Walking Calamity ends that we can restart Walking Calamity, because the rage will just apply to glory gen and get us that 50 glory and we pop again. Now, aside from passive rage regeneration, which will feel very good, there's also an immediate solution to our rage problem while we're just trying to get things started, which we swapped into Furious Slam. I was using Infernal Cry, but then once we got Walking Calamity, I swapped back to having Ferocious Roar instead of using Infernal Cry, because Ferocious Roar gives a lot of rage. It gives 3 rage per enemy power in range, and it gives, if you have Raging Cry on it, more rage on top of that. Essentially what ends up happening is if there's a unique monster and it spawns in, unique monsters have 20 power. This thing is giving us like 76 rage just in one click. So it's a really easy way. Unique mob spawns, proc that warcry, swipe a couple times, and you should have your Walking Calamity all filled up. And then you're fighting the boss. If Walking Calamity ends, you just proc Ferocious Roar again, and then you're back to procking Walking Calamity. It just instantly fills your glory bar and works really well for that purpose of generating that rage. So that's what Ferocious Roar is doing there. Another thing is Furious Slam links, Fist of War, Close Combat, Aftershock. Those are the things we were leveling with. And then my Maul links, I did Rapid Attacks, Close Combat, and Blazing Critical, which should feel better and better the more we get in terms of crit scaling, because it will start giving us gain damage for all of our other skills, which will feel pretty good. Last but not least, in all of these setups, we have a Pounce skill. Mark of Siphoning gives attack leech for mana, and the Mark of Siphoning level 2 gives life leech as well. And Mark of Death gives break armor. There's some other things, like we might do Eternal Mark. Maybe we'll do a different mark besides the mark from Pounce. Maybe one of the marks that gives gain damage we might look into. But it's very, very helpful for some nice extra bonuses throughout the fight. Now, one thing you might be wondering is, does Walking Calamity cancel when you use Pounce? It turns off momentarily while you are in wolf form, but the second you swipe over and become a bear again, you are once again, the fires will start raining down again. So you don't need to worry about it canceling out. Initially, the description on the webpage that they showcased said it would just outright turn off, but it doesn't. It just restarts the second you go back into bear form, and you can keep rampaging around and doing whatever it is you're doing. So yeah, that's a brief description of the current setup of how we're doing this. I'm going to probably end up repathing a few things. We're not going to do weapon sets until they fix the walking calamity. And this, the progression today is probably going to be us going to get better defensive gear, armor, ES scaling, stuff like that, swapping, turning seasons to the new rage nodes once we get our mercenary lab. That is the rough plan I have for my progression today. Yeah. Oh, another thing is, I want to apologize. Initially, the live tracker wasn't working right away because GGG basically gave us all the data for the tree, etc., like the hour before. And so the mobilities devs were kind of scrambling to get it up and running. And it is now successfully grabbing the tree correctly. And this should continue to give live updates on the character along with our act progression. Yeah. And another thing I want to mention is if you want to buy some decent gear upgrades, I set up some weighted sum searches, which basically say, hey, based on this value of these mods, this is how much we value these mods, give us a ring. You can change this weighting up here, just adjust this number to increase the value of ring. If you click maximum, it'll show like some really good rings, stuff like that. I have a lot of rare searches along with a few uniques that are decent options to look into. Yeah, so check that out. I would highly recommend it. And to do that, to use that in the Act 1 tab, down in the equipment priorities, you'll see this big line of text here. This is the import code for better trading. Just Control C that, say import folder, pop it in. It should give you the better trading links, and you can go ahead and use this to search up some items. I don't think we're actually going to end up using Cloak of Flame. We'll probably just go rare chest piece because the armor scaling that's built into the bear seems pretty nice. But the other things I would look into using a lot of decent options out here. Some things we may not consider, some things we will. Just mainly use it for the weighted sums is what I'd recommend. And then as I progress the character, we're going to test out some other things like Soul Tether and a few other things to see how they perform. So yeah, anyways, hopefully you guys enjoy this update for day 1 on the Meteor Bear. Just a little short snapshot of what we're doing and what we figured out in day 1. And then the next day, hopefully I won't have a cold and we'll have a really good progression update for you. Thanks for watching. As always, take care, Exiles, and peace out. Have a good one.